Good evening and welcome. Chris Upton back in the house. I need you to come back out and come back in because I've now got no comments at all. There you go. That's not worked, has it? So Chris Upton back in the house. That's better. All fixed. There you go. Kieran Evans. Well done.
Yeah.
So everyone's gonna have to come back in then. So we'll give them 5 minutes to come back in. Everyone, if they want to come back in. Chris Upton gone live. Okay, back in the room. Well done. That's better. So we'll let everyone come back in and we'll start again. I don't know how bad that other one was because I'm just talking blind like I normally do.
Somebody said the Kennel Club hacked you.
Kennel Club are after us, trying to censor us, are they? So now we've got 10 people in, 7 people. People are leaving. People are leaving. We had 10, then we had 7. Now we've got, so they're gonna have to come back in, aren't they? I bet they've all done it on Facebook. 8 people in. Honestly, we're really getting onto a roll here at the moment, aren't we? This is what happens with technology, isn't it? That's better. So we got 11 people in. Thumbs up 3. Obviously not doing too well. Oh my God, she's ringing, freaking throwing wine all over the place in the background. Thanks, Karen. Thank you very much. If everyone could just share the link. We'll just give it a couple of seconds before we come back in.
Peter's in, Chris is in, not the tables is in. They're coming back in.
Yeah. And what we need to do is we need to let a few people back in first. We've only got 12 people in here, and we had 50 people in here at one point. So hopefully you've found me again. People are coming back in. But it's going out there live on YouTube so they can see it. They can see there was a sound problem, and I can always delete the first one. But I wanted to really talk about a number of issues tonight, and one of them was the Kennel Club. I think they're a disgrace. And the other one is about don't waste it wearing the carpet out, Sue.
Bring the carpet out, Sue. No, don't worry. I'll just be down there licking it off the carpet.
Well, that's too much information for on here, please.
But it's fine.
Okay, we've got 19 people in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the lady who came here today. She came here today and she'd been watching my videos. And she said, I really missed your videos. It was as if it was a bereavement. I think that's the word she used. I was absolutely gutted when your videos disappeared, your 5,500 videos off YouTube. She said, I was absolutely gutted because I used to watch so many of them and enjoy them so much. And she came here with a 2-year-old dog, a spaniel, that she's been training since it was 5 months old with another trainer. And we're not going to mention the trainer's name. We don't need to mention the trainer's name. She wasn't derogative in any way about the trainer. And she didn't want to be on video because she didn't want the other trainer to take offense. I understand completely. That's part and parcel of my job. My job is to give the customer what they require. And like I said to you before, about a quarter of the people that I say, do you want to be on video or not be on video? They don't want to be. And I totally understand that's their prerogative. They are paying customers and that's what they get. They get my personal attention, but I have to honor what they want me to do. Now, halfway through the training, I said, isn't it a shame that we didn't video this? Because it would help so many people out there. That's what I'm on about. That's what I'm on about these videos. People like Chris Fraser saying that internet trainers are not helping people. I'm a fine example of he's wrong. But I totally understand what he's saying about people on the internet. Fraudsters, really, selling their ideology, selling themselves on the internet as personalities and film stars, when in reality, they are just ripping people off. So I totally understand where he's coming from in one direction, but I totally disagree that it's important that you go and watch other trainers, but don't believe everything they tell you. And I've got to be careful what I say here because I don't want to fall out with everybody on the internet. but it would be so easy to fall out with trainers on the internet. Somebody sent me a feed that I'd read before, done by Amy Bates, right? And it's titled Ian Openshaw on Gun Dogs and Field Trials by Amy Bates. Now, I followed Amy Bates for a while. She softened her approach on her opinion because she got backlash from the trial world for giving her opinion. That's in my opinion. She softened her approach. But she did an interview with Ian Openshaw, I think 2016. Now, I want to ask you a question, everybody. I want you to tell me what he actually meant. What actually Ian meant by these comments. So Amy Bates says, tell us your secret to training gun dogs. And Ian Openshaw, I'm going to read it as it is. Firstly, it's just hard work and knowing what you're doing. But the secret is the dog's got to be friends with you. If you go to someone's kennels and they're all dressed up nice, when you get there, they're not proper dog trainers. That I agree with. If they're wearing cravats and all this shooting attire and they ain't got scruffy kit on with dog shit and dog mud and fucking everything all over them, they're not proper dog trainers. They're great pretenders, right? So I agree with him with that. With proper dog trainers, the dogs are all over you because you're their friend. Okay? If you keep batting them down, they don't like it. They're like kids. They come to you and tell you, and they come to you and tell them, and you tell them to go away every time, then they wouldn't come to you, would they? Question mark. Well, dogs are just the same. 95% of the time. If you have to punish your dog, you're not training it properly. It's your fault. Go back to basics all the time. Every dog is different, so you have to train each dog differently. Everyone wants to get to the end before they get the basics right. So what I'm asking you guys, ladies and gentlemen, is what does he mean? I'm dyslexic. What does he mean? I have read the whole article through. It's worth reading. It's really interesting. He's the most successful gun dog trainer on the planet, right? They wear costumes. Well, I would agree with you there, Simon. I want to know what you think. Don't rush it. They want a quick fix. What about the discipline? What was he talking about the discipline? Explain to me, please, because I'm dyslexic. I'll read it again if you want. It means he corrects 5% of the time. Well, okay. Is that how you read it? I want you guys to tell me, and I'll read it one more time. It's not long, but I want you to break it down. Now, I'm dyslexic. I'd like Sue to come over here and read it if she would. Would you come over and read it? In case I am not breaking it down properly for you.
What am I reading?
Here. What are you doing? You're coming off. You're not going to be on camera.
No, I can read it, can I? They can hear me. They can hear me over there. They can.
Well, you're going to have to say it loud, okay? Hang on.
Where am I going? Which am I doing?
All right, okay. All right, Amy Bates, tell us the secret of training gun dogs.
Right.
Okay, so you keep answering. You keep giving me the answers. What you think? Oh, Jesus Christ! It's like the mayor, isn't it? I'm making a speech.
It's not COVID. You're okay. It's gone.
Oh, I'll tell you what. She's freaking useless with technology. She's snorting like a pig as well now. Honestly, me and my wife, we get on so well. We'll try it again, shall we? It's gone. No, it's gone because you press the freaking button, you dip.
Never touched nothing.
Right. Hold that there and hold that there and read that there.
From Amy Bates.
Yeah. Tell us the secret of training gun dogs. It's not long. Carry on. Here we go again.
Everybody listening? Here we go. Tell us the secret to training gun dogs. Firstly, it's just hard work and knowing what you're doing. But the secret is the dog's got to be friends with you. If you go to someone's kennel and they're all dressed up nice when you get there, they're not proper dog trainers.
Agree with that.
With proper dog trainers, the dogs are all over you because they're your friend. If you keep batting them down, they don't like it. They're like kids. If they come to you and you tell them to go away every time, they wouldn't come to you, would they? Well, dogs are just the same. 95% of the time, if you have to punish your dog, you're not training it properly. It's your fault. Go back to basics all the time. Every dog is different, so you have to train each dog differently. Everyone wants to get to the end before they get the basics right.
Okay. So do you agree or not agree that what Ian Oakenshaw was saying there
5%
was exactly the same as what I tell you? Or would you say he's saying if you've got to use discipline, it means you don't know how to train a dog? What is he trying to say? Is he trying to say that 95% of the time you don't need discipline? Or what do I say to you? I'd say get the dog to do it without the dog knowing he's training, and don't rush it. But both then train. Yes, the same. Agree. KTU. Yeah, agree. So what have I been telling you on the internet for over 10 years? 95% of my training is fun-based training. There's 5% discipline. But I think he could have worded it better, because it's more or less, it could come across to what I'm reading. It could come across, unless I'm dyslexic and I didn't understand it, that he's suggesting if you use discipline, you don't know how to train a dog. Because if you're using discipline all the time, you don't know how to train a dog without fail. And if you're using discipline more than 95%, then you're a barbaric. As simple as that. Sounds like he's against punishment, and anyone who has to punish their dogs hasn't taught the dog correctly and need to go back to basics because the person hasn't. Thank you so much indeed, H. Walker. That's exactly as I read it myself, when in fact I know that Ian will use discipline when he needs to. And I think the way it was worded and the way it was written is confusing. Or is it the fact he's sitting on the fence a slight bit and doesn't really want to get too involved in that? And yet I agree with what he said. If you're having to use discipline to train your dog all the time, then that's not training. That's dominance, right? There's leadership. And yes, pretty much right. Getting the dog to want to do it is the key. We teach them so they know we're asking them we correct them 95% and 5% is discipline. I think I agree, Karen. I agree, but I just think that when I read that, I was quite disappointed the way you put it across. Now, you could say that perhaps Ian isn't articulate, like Gary Wilkes, for instance, but as a dog trainer, he's absolutely fantastic. He knows how to get the best out of a dog without fail. He knows how to get the dog to work for him without fail. And that's the difference between sitting down and talking about these things and not talking about them. So we're going to go back to this lady, Catherine, right? We go back to this lady, Catherine, because I think that article, that I think I put it up on Patreon for everyone to see it and give their opinions, or I said something about it and we had replies about it. I've been that busy racing around. I can't remember, but I thought it was a good article, but some of it I agree with and some of it I don't agree with. But the majority of it I agree with. I agree with what Ian says. He mentions about training classes. Anybody who goes to training classes is wasting their time with a dog. Why? Because there's nothing but troublesome dogs at a training class. And it's normally someone who's won a trial, won a test, and they're now taking training classes. That doesn't make you a good trainer. I agree 100% with what he says. 100%. But Ian can get away with it because of who he is. If I say it, I've upset 3,000 people. That's the difference. So we go back to Catherine. Catherine, her background, and I really enjoy people's background, and when we sit down and have a chat. She's a teacher, 25 years, dyslexic children. not 25 years for dyslexic children, but children with special needs. And she works with children with dyslexia. And she said to me today that you are very, very intelligent, Chris. Now, my head can't fit through the door most days. To be told that by a person who understands dyslexia and understands how the mind works, and she studied it, and she's a teacher, and she's coming to Wiltshire to me to train her dog. By God, that nearly gave me a hard on. Right? Told you I'd be direct. Because how wonderful for someone to be so honest and open and say it the way she sees it. And she says the in-depth and how I show people things and how I read dogs and read people. She said, you're good at reading people and you're good at reading dogs. I swear to you, I couldn't have paid her to say this shit. And I just say to her, thank you so much. If it would have been on film, you lot would have been, what? Right? But I'm telling you, what a wonderful compliment from someone who struggled all their freaking life because they're dyslexic. Because I've been dyslexic, because I'm not Gary Wilkes, I haven't got the intellectual intelligence of Gary Wilkes. Because I can't articulate in the same way. And yet I say it in layman's terms so people can understand, because I think on the simple level. That doesn't mean I haven't studied. That means that people come to me because they watch the videos and they think, I need to go and see that guy. Now, I think Wiltshire's about a 3-hour drive, so it's not the end of the world. And she turned up today with a dog. And if we'd videoed it, we may have had the world against me. Simple as that. We may have had the world against me if we'd videoed it, but I would have edited it. I would have showed you the dog with the problem, and then I would have showed you the dog problem solved in my presence. I wouldn't have shown you how I could change that mindset of the dog, because of the snowflake society out there that take offense about everything and anything you say on the internet. As simple as that. Paul Jarvis, you speak plain English, Chris, mate. That's not dressed up or fancy words. Exactly. And that's what's important. But to put yourself out there to that camera there and put your head above the parapet, you have to be prepared to be shot at. As simple as that. You have to be prepared to be shot at. And yet today's society is telling us you can't use discipline. Anybody uses discipline is a barbaric, old-fashioned trainer. Anybody using an e-collar is a cruel motherfucker, right? And you shouldn't be training. You should be struck off the training list. And this is the Kennel Club. This is the organization that I adhered to their rules and regulations for over 30 years. And yet I've had my differences with the Kennel Club. And yet, like I've said to you before, A-panel judge Keith Carter said to me, without the Kennel Club, it would be the Wild Wild West. Well, it's becoming the freaking Wild Wild West, isn't it? It's all to do with lolly. It's all to do with money. This is what it's down to. It's all to do with money. Chris Upton, OBE, MBE, MFI. You bastards, honestly. Stop it. At the end of the day, if we can't have a laugh and yet we can't be serious at the same time, then I don't want to play the game. So I'm closing down Patreon. I'm closing down Facebook. I'm closing down YouTube. Now, fuck off, all of you.
No, you can't close down Patreon because we just got another
person
come in.
We just need another person with Patreon. We just need another person. So hang on, calm down. We're not going yet. So anyway, so what I'd like to do is this now. Right? I'd like to do this. This is if it can work. I'm going to see if it works. I don't know.
Dog photographer is in your new Patreon. He's only just paid, so he needs his money. So you can't take it off.
Exactly. Can't do that. Okay. So bear with me. Here we go. I'm going to phone the Queen because she's got a sprocker, or is it a cocker, or is it a... Sorry. That's my sense of humour again. 01. I can't give you out the number. Sorry. Okay. I've got direct line to Her Majesty. Okay, give me a second. Do we need a swear jar? Hello? Is this Her Majesty? Her Majesty, have you not been watching my live feed? Well, you need to get off the freaking soapboxes and watch me live feed. What have you been doing, Your Majesty? Anyway, I'm going to go live now, so watch your language. We got a swear box out here. Hello?
Hello.
Hello? We have Soul in the house. Dr. Soul, everybody.
Yeah. I can't see you, though, because I'm on the phone.
Yeah, we don't want to see you. We just want to hear from you.
That's nice, isn't it?
I can't split the screen on here.
You start as you mean to go on, aren't you?
This here, I'm going to start off the way I've been. So you've not been listening to the live feed?
I was watching the live feed the other night with the guy from the Midlands.
Not guy from the Midlands.
He's a fairly new. Oh, it might be Midlands. He's a guy with a fairly new dog, and the large part of the live feed was him chatting to you,
David.
David. Yeah.
Yeah, the coloured gentleman.
Yeah, but you were not from the Midlands then.
Yeah, lovely guy. Yeah.
I said he was from the Midlands. He said, "Oh no, he wasn't." Yes,
I didn't say he wasn't.
Yeah, the guy from the Midlands. Yeah, so and he'd got a newish dog. He was fairly new to training, and he was just sort of exploring things with you, and that was very interesting. Yeah, like that.
You enjoyed that, did you?
I did like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was very good. It's funny, isn't it? Because we bring novice people on, and we want a mixed bag. We want people with experience, and we want novice people on.
Yeah, because the novice people ask the questions that everyone else is too scared to ask.
Right. So what I want to ask you, Sol, is you've not listened to this evening's live feed.
This evening's live feed,
No. So I had a lady on called Catherine, who came here today, not on here, who came here today for a lesson. And she's been a teacher for 25 years with dyslexic people and special needs teacher.
And she can cure you, can she?
Eh?
Can she cure you?
Can she cure me? Do you know what she said?
I doubt you're curable, actually.
She said I'm a very intelligent person.
Did she? She met you just once then, did she?
And she said she watched lots of my videos, and she was very depressed that they all got taken down because they were so educational, and she found them absolutely fantastic. And I thought to myself, a teacher coming all the way from Wiltshire with a dog to me, who's dyslexic, who struggled all through his life because of his dyslexia, and yet she was so, the praise was just fantastic. You know, it was like wonderful to hear, and it was humbling, to be honest with you. So at the end of the day, is you've got to put yourself on the parapet, above the parapet, when you're talking to the public and you're out there giving your opinion. And as you know, I'm opinionated. But what do you feel? Have you seen what the Kennel Club have been saying about the e-collar in the last week?
In the last week? No, I haven't seen it, Chris. No.
They've been absolutely slagging the e-collar again. They're going on full attack
Well, I did say to you about the Kennel Club, didn't I?
to get the e-collar banned. The reason I've rung you is I want you, as a rational, free-thinking person, to tell people on here what you think of the e-collar. Could you have trained your dogs to the level you have without the e-collar?
Well, clearly people did train pointers without e-collars, but I don't quite know how they did some of it, because it's a lot of, people say the dog misbehaves, run your dog down. Well, it's run down a spaniel from a starting point of a spaniel is one thing, and run down a pointing dog from 200, 300, 400, half a county away is a different thing. You're never going to catch him. And so your ability to move beyond close work, close as in on a long line, and even that, long line with a pointer is bloody difficult because they're moving quick and they get entangled into all sorts of stuff. You have to have a big long line. So it really interferes with the movement of the dog. So you go beyond the long line, which you can only use in certain terrain, to off the long line. And the ability to tire correction at a distance, when you've trained it and all the usual good stuff, is just invaluable. I can't imagine. I mean, to my mind, the way I view the e-collar is it's like a half-mile long line that doesn't get tangled. Simple as that. The ability to say to the dog, oi, or tap on the shoulder, or give it more than tap on the shoulder if it's really being naughty, is just invaluable to me.
So let's throw the e-collar straight out the window.
Can you train pointers without e-collars? Of course you can, and they did. But is it easier with an e-collar? Yes.
So let's throw the e-collar straight out the window, and let's say it's been banned. Yeah. Okay? Do you think you can train a pointer or any gun dog without discipline?
No, I don't think you can train any gun dog without discipline.
No, nor do I. And I'm being totally honest. And that's what I wanted, an outside opinion of somebody who's used an e-collar. It's like saying you can go to town on a donkey, or you can go to town on a push bike. But by God, it's nice and comfortable with a 3-litre engine, and it's an automatic. It's so much more comfortable.
But of the two, what's the most important? The most important is the discipline, and the second is the tool, the e-collar.
So if the Kennel Club are promoting to ban the e-collar, aren't they suggesting, well, they're not suggesting because they believe that everything can be done positive. It's a double whammy.
I said this to you, Chris. I said this to you when I was absolutely off my bloody trolley, and you caught me at a weak moment. Tired and emotional, as it were. And I had to rant about the Kennel Club. The Kennel Club is
a couple of bottles of wine.
99% interested in pet dog owners and show dog owners. And 1% of its interest is on working dogs, which is a huge shame, because they've forgotten where dog breeds came from. They describe a dog breed by a verbal description. It's not even a visual description, it's a verbal description, which is open to misinterpretation. They've promoted, along with Crufts, frankly, deformity in the breed. And the separation of appearance from function is horrendous.
Yeah.
We've talked about it before. You know, you look at a working cocker and a show cocker. The show cocker's got a big dome head, bloody sticky out eyes, and not a bone in its body is about function. It's all about being a handbag dog. And a working cocker's a different animal. Show labs, working labs. I mean, look at the size of the heads on some of those show labs. They've got these big crocodile shovel heads, and they can barely bloody move. They can just about trot around the ring. They certainly couldn't run. They've got so this separation of form and function is unhelpful for the welfare of the dog. It's really unhelpful for the welfare of the dog breed. And as I've said to you before, the more popular a dog is for an owner, for a pet owner, the more it fucks up the working lines.
Yeah.
So Weimaraners, because they're pretty, have been bred to be Weimaraners. They're bred to look like Weimaraners and be grey, and that is the end of. They have no interest at all in the function of the dog. So that really messes up the tiny minority of Weimaraners that are bred for working, because you've got the show influence. There are some quite numerous breeds like GSPs where even the show dogs look like they have a decent function and they have some instinct in them. They're not all as good as a working line, but they're not bad. They've got some working instinct in them. And there's enough of them that you can get around it. But when you get into the minority breeds, and I don't want to name any minority breeds, particularly any French pointing spaniels or anything like that, but where you're on small numbers, if 90% of those are show dogs, then you've got 100 or 200 working dogs where people are actually selecting them for their ability. And that's not got to be good for the working ability of the line. So I think the Kennel Club has got it totally wrong in totally emphasising form over function. They don't test for function ever. The Crufts don't test for function ever.
So do you agree with me that the Kennel Club are letting us down as...
They've no interest.
Yeah.
They've no interest. And more than they've no interest, they're embarrassed at the thought that dogs might be used for work. They're embarrassed by the concept that dogs might be used for hunting.
So why don't they break away from the hunting section then and just carry on with their show dogs?
Well, they should.
That's where their money is.
They should, but they won't, because they want to keep a handle on the whole thing.
Exactly.
Because
it's all to do with this again, isn't it?
Global domination empire. We should break away from the working dog people should break away from the Kennel Club is what should happen.
Yeah.
Because what we're interested in is not that we talked about this before. The breeding is important, but the breeding of a keeper's dog to a keeper's dog to a keeper's dog 3 generations in, he's breeding great keeping dogs that look a bit like a spaniel, look a bit like a Labrador, look a bit like whatever they look like. If they're great dogs, you don't need the papers. The breeding is important, but the papers aren't. But I would like to see a separate system where you do have the papers and the pedigree, but you only get the ability to breed from the dog and get the pedigree when you've passed the basic working test. Same as the Germans have it.
But who's going to set the criteria?
Well, other countries have it, Chris. I'm not saying who's going to set the criteria. Other countries have it. You can't breed from certain dogs in other countries unless you've passed the basic working test.
Yeah, but is that, and I don't know this, is that working test relevant with the quality of the standard of the dog, or is it just
I would rather not have it. I would rather have it known what dog was bred to what, or at least an idea of what dog was bred to what. So you've got a bit of a track record. Although of course that can be fudged.
Yeah, without fact.
Has been, but that would be a good thing to have in the background. But I would rather have a basic intermediate than an advanced.
Can I just jump in there for a second? Robert Jeffries said all they want is a cardboard cutout dog on TV, a dog that stands still, looks pretty, and roots around the ring and looks good in a magazine. This is exactly what I'm saying, Robert, about dog training and dogs in today's society. The other day there was a dog trainer on there who was training with the film stars, with the celebrities. I don't know if you saw it. He's a guy, if anyone can name him, could you name him for me? He was a guy who wears a cravat, wears a nice jacket, and he goes round houses, and he was with that Denise Van Outen this week on training their pug or whatever it was. If you know that trainer, could you just name him for me? Because some of you might watch that. I flicked into it. I've watched a couple of them in the past, and I flicked into it the other day and watched it. And the lady who came to me training today told me that she found out how much he charges for a day's training. £750 for a day's training. This is what's happening with society and the way the Kennel Club are peddling this ideology. Now, that guy has taken a lot of shit on the internet for using discipline and using correction, using leash correction. At the end of the day, without the e-collar, there's no way you're going to get that dog to respond to you without punishment. And I agree 100% with what Sol is saying, everyone here, that he is saying, hang on, how did they train dogs before the e-collar? Of course they did. They trained dogs without the e-collar. But at the end of the day, it makes life so much easier. And where Larry Crowan talks about it and says that he trains every dog on an e-collar, I don't train every dog on an e-collar. But I understand why he does, because the average person doesn't want to put the work and the knowledge and gain the knowledge that I've got as a trainer with 30 odd years experience. When Sol first came to me, he was very, very green, but he studied and watched and watched and watched and watched. And like he says, he's not a professional, but it's important that you listen to someone else's opinion.
I'm a complete novice. I've got 2 dogs and one of them I fucked up.
Exactly, but that's what I like about this.
The third dog would be perfect.
Yeah, his third dog. They reckon it takes 5 dogs before. I reckon it takes 5 dogs before you get your good one. So you've got another 3 to go.
I wouldn't be using an e-collar for close range correction, because I think it's important that you personally correct the dog. I think it's important the dog understands that you are pissed off directly with it.
Without fail, Sol.
Jumping in and out of boots or going through doorways or anything you can get to the dog with, I would do that personally. But at distance, an e-collar is a super tool.
But then we were talking about snake bites and act of gods and corrections where the dog doesn't see it coming from you, it just avoids the negative.
I mean that's a slightly blunter way of using it. Yes, of course you can. If you've got a sheep worrier or something like that, you can just dial it up and give the dog a really nasty shock, which is a pure pain aversive when it gets near the sheep, and it'll come away because it doesn't know what the hell's happened. You don't have to give it a command. It'll go back towards the sheep. You zap it again with a high level aversive correction, and it'll come away from the sheep, and it'll start to think, hang on a minute, sheep have got this ability to zap me.
So do you not want the dog to associate that the collar means that you've got control, and you want the association to be?
I think it's such a subtle tool.
Yeah.
At a low level, you put it in your hand yourself, and you dial it up through the levels. If you're not using it on yourself before you use it on the dog, I think you're totally irresponsible. Really.
Irresponsible. Yeah, because it sounded like you said responsible.
If you put a tool on a dog like that, you should use it on yourself.
Yeah.
So at low level, you know as well as I do, I've got one that goes from 1 to 10. You've got one that goes 10, 20 to 100 or something. But the point is, call it a 1 to 10 scale. On a 1 or 2, I can't really feel it in the palm of my hand, which is where my senses are. Hand is a sensitive area compared to the back of my back or my leg, What's
the make of your collar, please?
It's a Garmin.
Right. So what I'm saying, yours is a Garmin, because I want people to distinguish this. That there is a lot of cheap Mickey Mouse made in Hong Kong by Ping Pong out there, e-collars, that do not give the sensation of a quality collar. Your collar is not a cheap collar, is it?
No, I think the transceiver unit is 250, 300 quid.
Yeah.
And the receiver bits on the dog's neck are 70 quid.
Yeah. So what I'm saying to everybody, and this is important, I'm not suggesting everybody that goes out and buys e-collar. What I'm suggesting,
come to you where it was a very different stimulation to yours. Whereas actually yours goes from 10, 20 to 100, and mine goes from 1 to 10, and they weren't that dissimilar in the increments.
No, they weren't, and that's important, everyone. You have to get quality. You have to buy quality if you're going to buy an e-collar. The lady who came here today has got an e-collar. She's only using the buzzer for a dog that is eating stones. That is not going to stop the dog eating stones. The dog is going to get used to the buzzer. When he hasn't got the collar on, he's going to eat stones. But if she caught him right with a collar, with a high stim at the point, but she's first taught the language, and she hit him hard with a high stim for picking up a stone, he would avoid stones like the plague. The same as a snake bite. You train a dog not to go to a snake. Right. Same scenario.
She was pointing at an adder.
Yeah.
And I got close enough to see the adder. I said no, and she still bloody took it. And she was sick for 2 weeks.
2 weeks sick. Yeah.
Yeah. She had a face the size of a baseball bat.
Yeah.
Baseball. Swollen up, and then it sunk down her leg and into her chest, and she was really, really sick for 2 weeks. And I think it's only because she was a big dog that we got away with that.
So do you think then?
Anyway,
do you think she learnt from that?
So
do you think she learnt from that? This is important.
Did I learn from that?
No, not you. Her. Do you think she learnt from that?
No, I don't think she did, because I think the initial bite from the adder is so minimal.
Yeah, exactly.
She's got no real pain for that. She ran around for an hour or two after that, not fussed at all.
Exactly.
And 2 hours later, when I got home, then her lip was coming up like a complete balloon.
Yeah.
So I don't think she really associated being sick for 2 weeks with the adder bite, because that was so trivial for her. She's ripped her leg open, 4 inches down,
and still hunted.
On and come back with a leg full of grass seed and Christ knows what else. So
yeah.
I've been very happy. So the level of pain from the adder bite initially was, she stepped back from it. She jerked back from it, but she wasn't in pain from it.
Yeah. And
so, no, I don't think she learned at all.
So I think that's a great point there, isn't it? That when the adrenaline is up, the dog can take so much more pain as such, and we're not trying to dismiss this.
Awful stories where a dog jumps over a barbed wire fence, comes back with the retrieve.
Yeah.
It's got its entrails hanging out because it's disemboweled itself.
And still hunting.
Makes the retrieve.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a
No, exactly. And what I'm saying is, Karen says it here, e-collars were banned in Wales and attacks on livestock have gone out of control, and dogs have doubled. Do you honestly believe so that if they ban the e-collar, lots of dogs will be put down because of not the right to use that tool?
No, I don't really believe that at all.
You don't believe it?
No, I don't think so.
Why not?
Because most people aren't training their dogs at all. Most pet owners, which is 99% of people who've got dogs, aren't really training their dogs to any standard at all. And I don't think any pet owners are really considering using e-collars. I think what will happen is they'll deprive people who are serious dog trainers, serious working dog trainers, of a really useful tool. And I think they'll deprive people who are trying to turn around dogs and correct dogs and get them from being destroyed of a really useful tool. But let's be honest, of the dogs that go to Battersea, 90% of them destroyed anyway.
Yeah.
Almost none of them get rehomed.
Yeah.
So it's not like.
What about boomerang dogs?
I don't. I'm not really going to too much about it, but
Well, hang on. What about dogs that get rehomed?
Yeah,
they still got behavioural problems. They then bite again. They get rehomed again, and they get put back out again for sale because
almost no dogs at rehoming centres are trained.
Exactly.
And almost no dogs at rehoming centres are corrected and then made more suitable for adoption. They just are playing a numbers game, and 90% get destroyed just because they're timed out, and 10% of them go out and maybe they'll come back, but they don't really give a shit because that's not the game of it. They're not interested in saving dogs' lives. Now, I don't think they're using e-collars in rehoming centres.
No.
But they're not interested in training dogs.
No.
They're not. They're too terrified of the thought that correction might save a dog's life. They would rather just let the dog be destroyed because then they can just be positive only and fluffy. So really, they're not about the dog's welfare. They're just about their particular.
And yeah, I took a real bollocking from somebody from an animal welfare charity the other day for saying, "How dare you criticise an animal rehoming centre for not addressing the training issues? Many dogs leave these premises with problems, and people get trainers in and pay for their education." And I'm saying to them, these dogs shouldn't be leaving these homing centres unless you've got over those problems. And they're saying, we're not there to do that. We're there to rehome them. It's down to the individual to train them.
Well, I think that's totally irresponsible.
Terrible.
Most of them are there because the owners can't take it. I mean, you've got to get Penny on. I'm not an expert. Get Penny on and talk about animal rehoming centres. But I'm guessing most of those dogs. I mean, I look at the list on Battersea, for example, a very well-known dog rehoming centre, and 80% of them are staffies or staffy crosses. 80% of the dogs in their care are staffies or staffy crosses. Now, staffies can be beautiful, lovely dogs, but why are 80% of their dogs staffy or staffy crosses? Not because they're easy, is it? They're being given up, preferentially given up, for a reason. And I guess the reason that staffy might end up in Battersea is not because it's a lovely family staffy and the owner's died. I guess most of them are there because the owner can't cope with them.
Well, most of the dogs in the rehoming centres, in reality, is because they've been overloved and they've taken over. It's as simple as that.
Well, the owners were, and then certainly the rehoming centres are terrified of using correction to sort the dog out.
And that's where we got a breakdown in the dog training.
I wouldn't be sending a staffy out until I'd known that I'd got it into a sensible level of training.
So what I'm saying is the guy who did this training program the other day, and I watched it and I thought, what a load of shite, right? Some of the stuff I agree with him, but majority of it, it's all for TV. It's all for TV. No different than Cesar Millan, no different than Robert Elaine, no different than Victoria Stilwell. They are puppets. They're put on TV to sell us ideology, to sell a story. Now, take me out after the guy. At least he's using correction. He's took some shit for correction, but the program's still going. But the light leash tug that he used on this little dog of Denise Van Outen's that he asked it to recall, and it didn't come back. And he said, look at that. Within 5 minutes, we got the dog listening to us with light leash correction.
Yeah.
Well, that is an important factor. But if he'd done it twice as hard, the dog wouldn't have gone round the flower beds, over the freaking path, round where he wanted to go before the dog came back.
You appreciate as much as anyone else, Chris, the importance of being seen to be very moderate on video. There's effective correction, and there's the correction you'd want to be seen on video. I agree with you that the correction you need to give is at a level that the dog deems it sufficiently unpleasant that it will avoid it.
But it wouldn't be cruel.
No, it wouldn't be cruel. But it needs to. When I came to you, I was giving nagging corrections.
Yeah.
That the dog was just toughening up to, and my first dog indeed did toughen up to ignore every fucking correction I give it. Unless I took a stick to it or a baseball bat to it, the dog would not believe I was going to give it a correction.
Yeah.
Because I nagged it and worked up through the levels until she until she ignored everything to a level at which I was not prepared to give a correction above. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not a dog beater.
No.
And I'm not going to take a stick to a dog and whip the shit out of it. And so she got to a level where she thought, you're not going to give me any more than that, and I'm just going to walk through that. So that was a terrible way to do it. Another way to do it would be give it a fright when it's young and impressionable, a bit of a fright, and then to avoid it from then on.
Do you think so?
And believe you. Well, I think so. I think it's kinder to give.
I think that just shows you naivety.
Well, hang on. I think it's kinder to give.
Hang on.
I think it's kinder to give an effective level of correction.
No.
That actually does deter the dog.
No, you said at a young age.
Twice or three times.
You said at a young age.
Well, I mean, I'm training my dog at 4 years now, still, Chris.
No. I'm talking about dogs. Dogs are like sponges. They soak up stuff. And in that early learning that people keep saying, this is when you've got to step in and start training your pup. When it's still in the womb. When it's 8 weeks old. Hang on, Sol. This is important. Hang on for a second.
Well, what I'm saying too. Go on then.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, this is important. The dog is like a sponge, and it will soak up. And if you give discipline at a young age, you can turn that dog fearful about discipline.
I'm not talking about giving discipline at a young age. I'm talking about putting the firm stop on my pointer at 2 years old.
Well, hang on. That's not young age, is it? 2 years old.
For a pointer.
Well, it's not young. I'm talking about people listening on here could be thinking 6 months old.
No, all right. I'll say you're clarifying and I'm clarifying.
Yeah.
You're talking about not puppies. I am agreeing. I don't do any discipline for puppies in that sense at all. But basic house manners and stuff like that. But not corrections in any meaningful sense. But I had a stop on that dog with thrown dummies, which he was not particularly at that stage enthusiastic about. Well, he was enthusiastic, but I had a stop on him for 12 months, 18 months, and then we started using the dummy launcher, and he necked himself on that dummy launcher. He knew what a stop was. He knew not to go, and he necked himself on that long line 20 times at fucking full speed. I mean, I gave him increasing length. I didn't let him neck himself to 30 yards, and hurt himself. But he really wanted that dummy launcher retrieve, and that was 2 years old on a pointer with a firm stop on him, and now he does not run in on anything. No. But
why didn't you do it when he was 6 months old?
Why didn't I?
Yeah, I'm asking you.
Well, because I messed my first dog up by over schooling the dog.
Exactly. What did I tell you, people? What did I tell you? He may be a novice, but he's learning.
On Patreon, did you train your second dog like Chris does? I said, absolutely. I mean, beyond basic house manners and the general stuff, I let him get as wild as I could let him get. You were laughing your socks off when I brought him to you the first time.
Loved him.
Yeah. You were absolutely hilarious. You thought it was hilarious the way he would just clear off after the flying bird,
Yeah.
Honestly, but I tried to let him run with it and tried to let him go with it. And have I got a keen dog now? Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
And does he sit on the stop? Absolutely.
And at a distance.
300, 400 yards, he'll sit tight.
Exactly.
And he hasn't lost his phone since.
And you haven't lost your phone since?
I haven't lost my phone since. Not since the first one, no. I remember you on the moor on Keir Hill with that first dog in the bracket when I lost my phone. And you said, you're ever so nice. You're just assessing the dog. Honestly, God, I came down to see you. I'm going to tell this story to other people because you know it because you were there. But other people don't. So I came to see Chris the first time. several other people, and they've all given me advice, but none of it's really making any sense to me. And I think we met at 12 o'clock. At 4:30, so you went around the yard, you went around your field, did a bit of this, did a bit of that, went up to Kit Hill. The dog boxed off chasing a fox. I think when she was hunting around the bracken, he said, "Have you ever thought of putting a working pattern into your dog?"
Yeah.
But do you work to a pattern, or just let her do what she wants? I think there was some sort of comments like that going on. But you were 4.5 hours with me, Chris. First meeting. You didn't move from anyone else, did you? And 4.5 hours, and I won't say the price at the end of it, but it was not 4.5 hours of your time. It was a pleasure, and I was sold from then on in. Just because you weren't doing it you didn't know me. You didn't know I was going to come back. You didn't know you were going to know me for years. I was a complete numpty. I hadn't got a fucking clue what I was doing. But you put the time in, and things you said really, really helped.
And you know what? That's what this is all about, Sol. Yeah, this is thank you for.
I'll give you a sort of a big up, but the reason I'm giving you a big up is because that when you didn't know me and you didn't know the sort of dog trainer I was going to be, you didn't know that I was going to keep coming back to you, and without that, you just gave me the time and you charged me a really low price for 4.5 hours of your expertise, and here we are. You know.
So what I want to ask you this, Sol, that's fantastic.
It's the dogs that always matter with you.
Sorry, Sue?
It's the dogs that always matter with you.
Oh, Sue said it's the dogs that always matter to me. She's going soft on me. So what I want to ask you this, Sol. The lady came here today, Catherine. She's been training with a trainer, a so-called very, very well-known trainer. Won't mention her name. And she's been training with him since the dog was 5 months of age. Now, the dog came in, and one of the issues... It's a Springer Spaniel, 2 years old. And what a lovely dog, reasonably well bred, top line brilliant, bottom line not so good. A number of issues with the dog. One of the issues was the dog's coming in, and if she's got a dummy in her hand, he jumps up, he grabs hold of it, and he plays tug with her, and he pulls her across the field. Right? 2 years old, she'd been going to a trainer. What would you suggest with your experience that you've got, and you've already explained that you're not a professional? How would you get over that in one lesson?
I'd bonk it.
You'd what?
Bonk it.
You'd bonk it, would you? Right. So.
No, hang on. If she's got the dummy in her hand and the dog jumps up at the dummy in her hand, I'd bonk it.
If the dog's got the dummy.
If the dog's got the dummy, that's a different thing.
Hang on.
If she's got the dummy in her hand and the dog jumps up to grab her dummy, I'd bonk it.
What with?
But if the dog's got the
what
dummy,
with?
Mouth, I wouldn't touch it.
Hang on. What with? Bonk it.
Bonk towel.
You carry a bonk towel with you in the field.
I would. I'd still want behind my back.
Right. So you'd think, okay, you're doing that to me, you little bastard. I'm going to sort you out with a bonk towel.
Yeah.
What if the dog then started dropping the retrieve at your feet?
Well, the dog hasn't got the retrieve in his mouth. If the dog is jumping up to take something out of my hand, I'd bonk it.
Right. So hang on then. Let me give you a little bit more input. If she just walks around with the dummy at her side, the dog jumps up, grabs it, and wants to play a game of tug of war with her, right?
I'd still bonk it.
Yeah, okay, hang on. But if she throws it out and sends a dog for it, and it comes back, when it comes back to her, it backs off from her, stands there, so she has to move forward. When she puts her hand on the dummy, another tug of war.
Yeah.
So what would you do? Bonk it.
I'd take it to a trainer. You tell me, Chris. I mean, taking stuff out of my hand and jumping up on me, I don't feel any inhibition about applying a correction. And you and I both know, because we've both been bonked on the head by a bonk towel, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't actually hurt. It's a really mild correction, but it's sort of a shock correction.
Right.
It's sort of it's nothing much. I bonked my wife, she's bonked me with a bonk towel.
Me and Sue bonk each other all the time, mate. I knew you'd go back to sex.
There's fucking else to do. So I don't think it's not a tough correction to give, but it is surprisingly effective. Being twatted on the head by a towel does inhibit dogs from jumping up and grabbing your stuff.
Right. So if I put a video,
the dog not
Sorry.
The dog has learned, hasn't it? I'm guessing that if it brings it in close, there's a game because they try and grab it, you try and grab it, and then it tries to play tug. So the dog wants to play tug.
So I sorted the problem out in 5 minutes.
Why can we have the video?
Right, and so why can't you have the video? Because if I put the video up, I'd be classed as an abuser of dogs. And yet I didn't abuse the dog in any way. The dog still wanted to play the game, keen as mustard, and yet he was giving it up like butter. This is the problem.
The bringing it in gets the next retrieve. It'll start to bring it in, won't it? It'll put more value on bringing it in to get the next retrieve than it will to playing tug.
See what Andy Stead said? Bring the knee up to the dog's chest.
As it comes to...
As it comes in to get the retrieve off you.
Well, that's the same thing as an inhibition from the bonk, isn't it?
Well, that's why would you need a bonk then?
It's another option. It's like we're not playing tug, we're playing retrieve.
If you came into me and attacked me, and Andy Stead should know this because he's a 5th Dan black belt. The idea is, if you came into me hard, I could stop your attack if I seen it coming and deflect it. Now, if I deflect it, does that make you think, shit, I'm going to throw another one in there? Or does it make you think, shit, this guy knows what he's doing? Because at the end of the day, it's the same scenario. If you brought Pierre into the scene and with his martial arts is...
You're not doing kung fu with your dogs now, are you?
No, we are doing kung fu with the dogs because at the end of the day, a short, sharp correction to the dog at that instant changed the mindset from being dominant to, oh, freaking hell, you're serious.
So when I'm saying what I said, if the dog's trying to grab your dummy out of your hand, and jump up at you when you got the dummy in your hand, you bonk it, that's not a terrible idea, is it? Or is it?
I don't know. I wouldn't use it, but
you wouldn't. But it's you know, there's many ways to skin a cat. That would be okay. That would stop the dog doing it, wouldn't it?
I don't want the dog dropping it. I want the dog handing it to me.
Got the thing in his mouth, has it?
Well, he has, hasn't he? If he's grabbed it and you're freaking bonking him when he grabs it, it's in his mouth, isn't it?
No, I think that's more subtle than that. I think if they know they're grabbing something off you and you bonk them, they know just not to do that.
Okay, so forget that one then for a second because we're going off subject slightly. Mike Steele says, my 10-month-old Springer bitch always runs, then stops, sits and looks at me instead of working the hedge line. Any tips? Any tips on that?
No.
Why not? 10-month-old dog always runs and then stops, sits and looks at me instead of working.
I've never had a dog that stopped, Chris.
No.
I've no experience of a dog that stops. I'm being honest.
No, that's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. Because do you know what? So it's really good talking to people like yourself, right? You know, everybody has got their opinion and everybody is entitled to their opinion. Now, my argument is this. Why would you continue going to the same trainer that you've been going to for 15 months who can't tell you within 5 minutes how to get a dog to stop freaking holding on to something and not letting it go? Because the longer the dog's doing it, the more dominant the dog's becoming, the more it's becoming a problem.
The longer it takes to unwind it, yeah.
Yeah. And so what's happening is if you can create obsessive behaviors in dogs, and so it's knowing when to step in and go, hang on, that needs to be stopped now. The dog is really manic for retrieving, but don't let it grab it off you. Your toy, your tool. You say to the dog when it can grab it and when it can retrieve it. But what you're not allowing is the dog to be dominant. Now, you could say, is the dog going to hurt birds? Is it going to damage birds because it's damaging dummies by grabbing hold of it and biting into it? The dog was handing it up.
That should be a different thing.
So soft, it was unreal. Yeah. So the other thing is the problem with the dog is he's whining like shit. Non-stop whining. He's 2 years old. Non-stop whining. Drives me mental. Right? So how would you start to stop that?
Get a better bred dog, Chris.
Get a better bred dog?
Yeah, generally.
So right.
But there's two elements, isn't there?
What?
There's the breeding element and there's the are you winding the dog out element.
Well done. Well done. Two elements.
Oh, so I am learning, aren't I?
Yeah. Two elements. It's so important for everybody listening. You can't just go, oh, that dog's bred wrong, get rid of it. You have to assess it as a trainer. And even though you may have 30 years experience or 2 years experience or 5 years experience, at the end of the day, how are you going to stop that? And how are you going to work out whether it's hereditary or whether it's a problem because the dog's been allowed to take over and wants attention and is attention seeking? If it's an attention seeking behavior, then we could have the same argument as what we were on about earlier, though when Sol wasn't on here, about Ian Openshaw saying that if anybody has to use discipline on a dog, don't know how to train a dog. Where
Openshaw said that.
hang on, but the way he worded it, you could argue that what he was saying is 95% is fun based and 5% is discipline. But the way it was worded is a little bit confusing because people gave different opinions when I read out this statement, what he said in this write up. Because at the end of the day, it's slightly misleading.
The superstars don't want to be tied with that brush, do they, at the moment?
So exactly. So do you see what you get? Not always, do you? And what I'm saying is, so how did I start to address the noise problem?
I'm not telling you, I'm not a professional dog trainer.
I didn't ask you to be a professional dog trainer. I'm asking anybody on here as well. So what happens is, how many people have watched my videos of me throwing water over a dog if it's whining in a kennel?
Yeah, that's a good start, isn't it?
Yeah. So what I did is I put the dog in the kennel at the side where he can't see us, opened the conservatory door, put the dog in there after he'd been in the field and he had a burnout and he hadn't made a noise, and he kicked off, went out, took a jug of water, splashed him in the face. He just stood there as if like I didn't throw the water at his face. He didn't cower, he didn't put his tail between his legs, and he didn't disappear to the end of the kennel. So I thought to myself, you little bugger, you're more stubborn than I thought. So I filled up the container again and gave him another one. Then he backed off. He backed away from me in the kennel. That told me that was enough pressure at that point. It's knowing when to put pressure on and when not to put pressure on. So then I came inside, and within 5 minutes, he started again. Went out there again, splashed him. The lovely lady said, "Oh my God, he's a stubborn little sod, isn't he?" And you know, that's what he does. He tests me all the time. He's learnt to test her. He's learnt to win, and she said herself, she gets angry with him. Anger does not sort out dogs.
No.
Consistency and correction sorts out dogs. So I went back out there again. Here we go. Look, I don't know. Mine loves to jet wash, thinks it's great fun. Exactly, some do, but I've been criticised and rubbished for using a jet wash on a dog in the back of the kennel, spraying him across the kennel. When I've gone in there, given the jug of water, he's gone, "Sods you don't have any control over me." But within 4 jugs of water, this dog stopped making any noise in the kennel for over half an hour while we were talking, giving the dog a break before taking the dog back out again. So guess what? It worked. When I gave him the discipline and I upped the discipline with the 3rd jug of water, when I went out there, he disappeared to the back of the kennel, tail between his legs, learnt the lesson and didn't continue. Hang on, the dog's 2 years old. He's been doing this for 12 months. The other trainer said don't bring him to training class because he's whining all the time.
We talked about noise before, but for the very particular reason that my younger dog is quite a good dog in a lot of respects, has noise. And the noise is on impatience, and it's on wanting to be released, and it's on excitement, but not while working, as if that's a bonus, because the other, the first bit is annoying enough, perhaps more annoying. But we talked about what can you do about noise, and I thought about that, and we talked about running a sort of pseudo test, a sort of different thing, and I thought, even if on the real test, the Kennel Club test, they put a small N next to the dog, if the dog had run and got the points it got, but it had made a noise of impatience before being let off, but not made a noise when hunting. And then they put a big N, a capital N, if the dog had made a noise when hunting.
So keep the crisp quiet, will you?
Even that would be enough in the official tests and trials to make people be aware of which dog lines have noise, and they would avoid them. You wouldn't even have to say anything about it. You just have to say, we will comment on noise, we will observe noise. You can still get 100 marks out of 100, but if your dog is whining 100 marks brackets. There you go. So it doesn't have to affect the score. I think if you give that 5 years of running, I think people would soon be able to read the test results, and the people who are interested anyway.
So you're saying it would give a indication, a guideline of what dogs were making noise in the line,
exactly.
what dogs were making noise in the field.
Winning field trials, and you might be winning working tests. But if your dogs are squeaking and whining and fussing and all that sort of nonsense, let's at least know which dogs those are, because those tests are recorded by currently the Kennel Club, and we'd at least have a clue as to which ones to avoid, wouldn't we?
So tell me now then, with your knowledge that you've got now, would you only buy a pup off a dog that didn't have noise in the line and didn't have noise in the field? Or would you say, as long as it was doing it in the line, I don't care, I'd buy off it? But
No. To be honest, I've never had a dog that did it in the field when working. I had a silent dog, and I was very complacent. I thought I'd done that myself, but actually it was the breeding. And I've got an excitable, high energy, wound up dog, which I haven't wound up more. I'm trying not to wind up more, but he squeaks when excited and waiting.
So if you suppress that dog from the start,
chatters his teeth.
Yeah. So if you suppress that dog from the start, do you think he would still have the noise?
I don't know.
Well, that's the question.
Well, I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's in the breeding.
I think it's in the breeding, because when that noise started to come out whilst waiting, because it's a very well bred dog in terms of the papers. So the bitch's papers were good, and the sire's papers were really good. But they're both good.
Yeah, but don't majority of them make noise?
No.
No?
No, not even GSPs. Not even all GSPs make noise.
I didn't say all, majority.
No, not really. No.
A large majority.
No.
Right. So
no, not really. They're not as terrible as they're more prone to it than like Labradors or something like that. But they're not shocking with it. 50% maybe.
50%.
Yeah.
So there's 50% they shouldn't be breeding off then, really.
No, exactly. So I went back to the breeder. I said, so he's a bit noisy. She said, yeah, so's my bitch. I said, what? So she's got this beautiful sire that she's bred to her much beloved bitch, which has got great pedigree and great papers. And she said, yeah, she's calmed down a lot now, but she used to be terrible with it. But trying to sit around in a deer hide, and she'd be terribly whiny, and that would fuck off. Like, why didn't you fucking? I thought you've docked the dogs. You're a working person. You've got a farm. You're breeding a working dog to a working dog. It never, stupidity of my part, never occurred to me to say, has your bitch got noise? Anyway, she said, yeah, it has.
Yeah.
There we go.
So we got a question here from Denver.
That won't be a mistake. I'll make a third time.
So we got a question here from Denver Skinner. He says, I got a question for Chris, all for Sol. My lab, from when it could always jump in the back of the car, no problem. All of a sudden, I ask her to get in, and she dashes off on the field instead of getting in. What would you do, Sol?
I'd grab her by the collar and throw her in.
Exactly. There you go.
I wouldn't say a word. I wouldn't give a command. I'd just drag her by the collar.
What I would do, Denver, myself, I'd leave a long line on the dog, and I'd let the dog run around in the back of in the field. When I asked the dog to come to me, I wouldn't go chasing the dog. I'd go to the long line. I'd wheel the dog in, and I'd just put the dog in firmly in the back of the car. I wouldn't go get in. I just put the dog straight in firmly, and guess what? I guarantee the dog get in pretty quick.
It works every time, and I learned that from a bloke on a shoot.
Oh, you didn't learn it from me then?
No, I didn't hear that from you. I learned a bloke on a shoot, and I love that thing where everyone's sat around with their Land Rovers, and the tail of the Land Rover's down, and the dogs are sat in the back of the Land Rovers, and there's no Land Rovers in the courtyard, because no dog's been allowed to get out of the Land Rovers, but they're not restrained. So they're free in the back of the Landies, the tailgates are down, and one guy's dog jumped out because he was just too excited. And that's all he did. He's grabbed it by the scruff, chucked it back in fairly firmly, didn't say a word to it, and that was the end of that.
And what did anyone say on the shoot? Did they all go mad and go, "How dare you?"
No, that's how they train their dogs not to jump out the back ladder.
There you go. Isn't that funny?
Everyone knows how to do it.
Isn't that...
And I said, that's fantastic. And I've got a friend who's got Labradors, but she's not very serious about it. And she said, so I pop my boot and the dogs don't get out of the car. She said, how do you train your dogs not to get out of the car? And she said, well, you just chuck them back in firmly. She said, well, that's amazing, because I've never been able to do that in my dogs. She said, well, you've never done it, have you, then? You've never trained it.
Exactly. So we've got.
And I would say that's a seriously life-saving important thing.
I do as well. So I've got another question here from you.
When you open your car boot, you're on a road.
Yeah.
Generally.
Without fail.
If your dogs jump out, you're potentially completely fucked.
Yeah, exactly.
So putting a bit of discipline into a dog not to jump out until told to go is a life-saving thing for your dog. So
or leave the.
Where would you want to be on the scale of discipline? Do you want to not discipline your dog and have it run over, or do you want to have your dog trained and have it under control?
Do you know, I've never trained my dogs to sit in the back of the car with the boot open.
No, but you don't take them out with a boot.
Eh?
In a car with a boot, you take them out with a dog box.
Yeah, so I don't need to do that, do I?
I know, but I can pop my boot and I can have a pheasant walk across the back of the road, and the dogs don't fucking move.
Exactly, and what I'm saying is horses for courses.
Because you're in a different situation to me. But is being able to release your dog when you release your dog an important thing? Spot on, it is.
So you have a question here. He says, Jay Brooker says, "Can I ask a question, Soul?" From Soul. So Sue says, "Go for it, Jay." Dougie is my first dog, and I'm very green to working dogs, and I thought I bought him from good breeding. The more you tell me, Chris, the more I question it. Would Soul have kept him had he made that?
Mistake as a young lad.
Eh? Would he have kept him? He made that mistake as a young lad.
Question, as he likes pointers, I'm intrigued.
Question, as he likes pointers, I'm intrigued. Slightly confused about that question, but
I'm not quite sure of the question.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. Sue obviously understands
When I
it.
saw Doogie
Go on.
at the start,
Yeah.
I thought, has he got a sort of neurological problem? He didn't run like any dog I'd ever seen.
No.
For a dog of his age.
No.
He did run. He did. I mean, everyone's saying it's Pluto, but he did run like Pluto.
Yeah.
So he didn't look like he was a comfortable moving dog for me.
Right.
So I was a bit worried about that. But and again, you think, well, would I have bought a dog from a pool of dogs where there's 2,000-3,000 in Europe total? For the reasons I've earlier said, probably not, unless you really, really know what you're doing. Because there might be a few kennels, maybe 2 or 3 out of the people producing those dogs, who are producing working dogs of some quality. But actually, if you're on 2,000 or 3,000 dogs for the breed in Europe, you're on a bit of a survival level for the breed. So I probably wouldn't have chosen that breed.
It's a bit like Bracco Italianos, isn't it?
Well, there's more Braccos than there are of those.
Oh, without fail. But what I'm saying is you still have to compromise, don't you, with the trainability of them?
Well, honestly, I have seen some fabulous Braccos, Chris. So there's Braccos and there's Braccos. There's Braccos that look like big lumbering nose hounds. What do you call them?
Well, I just put them in the same category as Clumber Spaniels. To be honest with you, I don't know.
But I've seen Braccos that look like those big jowly scent hounds, bloodhounds.
Yeah.
Like bloodhounds.
Yeah.
And they built like they're heavy and they're slow. And I've seen Braccos that are lean and light. They still don't gallop, but they trot at a hell of a good fucking pace. And in the heat, and they'll keep it up all day on a bare rocky hillside in the full sun. So dogs for the ground, isn't it? I mean,
we go back to Jay's dog.
I've seen some really nice Braccos that you think, all right, it's not quite my shape, but I still think it's a good dog.
But you go back to Jay's dog. Dougie, right? At the end of the day, that dog has got about 35 seconds of pace that you've never imagined when he wants to turn it on.
Yeah.
But then he wants to then lay in the freaking shade because he's knackered within 5 minutes. He's one of them dogs that he hasn't got that attention span of what I'm looking for. And yet, do we give in on him and say he ain't worth working with? No, he is coming on. He is getting better, but it's a slow bloody progress. And what process? And that's what Openshaw was saying. If you're not willing to put the work in, then don't think you're going to train a dog in 5 minutes. And that's so important that people understand. I took that dog out today because the lady who came here, she looks at Wiz and she looks at and they're like film stars to her because she's seen them for the last 5 years on the videos. And she goes, "Is that Wiz? Is that Dougie?" And I took him out and I showed him retrieving and how boisterous he was and how keen he is, where he didn't have that keenness. He was just a silly pup, but now he's beginning to focus and go, yes, I'm enjoying it. I'm not saying he's going to make the top grade. No way. I wouldn't pretend. I wouldn't try and rip someone off. And I'm saying to Jay, you can come and pick him up anytime you want. But at the end of the day, that dog needs time. And if you don't put the time into him, you ain't going to get the dog to the level that you want to. And Jay said the same thing. He's lost his temper with the dog on a couple of occasions. And you can see it because the dog was slightly confused. Where the difference is, he's learning the difference between turning pressure on and having fun. And there's the difference with what you were saying with your first dog, because Jay's asked that simple question. What did Sol do wrong with his first dog? As he said, he made mistakes. Over control. Yeah. And so that's what we're saying to you, Jay. At the end of the day, you're not going to see a video every day with your dog. Why? Because he's not out every day. We're playing absence makes the art grow fonder. When he comes out with me, he's focused on me, because if I could take him out every day, I'd take him out every day because I could move forward very quick with his training. Some dogs do and some dogs don't. The dog here today, although was naughty in a number of areas, he was up for it big time. So I could work with that dog, a naughty dog, all day long and turn that dog around very, very quick, because I can turn what we call the volume down. I can turn the drive down. What we need to do with your dog, Jay, is get the drive up. What Sol realized is with the obedience he put into this first dog, he lost the drive. He lost that desire. And the dog would, like a cat, it was stalk. And to be honest with you, when I've been out with it, it's like, Jesus.
Paint dry, I think
it's like watching paint dry. That's what I said. But then his second dog, I'm laughing because I'm thinking, that's what I want. Now you've got to bring it back.
Well, I've told my wife, Chris, if I drop dead of something obscene,
yeah,
Opto goes to you.
Oh, thank you very much.
You'll actually have fun with him, or you'll put him.
What about the wife? Did she? What about the wife? Did she come this way as well?
No, just the
dog. That's a shame. I told you I'm always looking for two women. But that's the nice thing about dog training. It's being able to evaluate and look at these things.
I know, even though it's not your thing, and even though pointers aren't your thing, I know you kind of think the dog's okay now, and you'd either use it yourself or you put it onto someone who would make good use of the dog. So that to my mind, when I said that to you before, when I get you into pointers, I'll consider my life's work done. So the first Brittany you get, I'll feel I've achieved something.
Do you know what? I think I'd rather go into agility training.
You're a horrible man.
No, you're a cheeky bugger, you are, because I've watched him and I've stood back in awe thinking, yes, isn't that beautiful?
Not a bad retreat, is it?
When he gets it right, it's stunning. And there's that balance. And I was so impressed this time that you've made so much good progress. And like you said, and you were spot on, because you're doing it every day, you don't realize how the progress is going forward until someone sees it from 12 months ago.
Yeah.
And there's the difference. And that's the difference between Jay having his dog back and thinking, wow, I can't believe how good he is. If he doesn't keep up the training, Sol, what's going to happen?
You ain't going to be forced. You'll be going backwards. But I mean, that's it's very hard to say with them. I don't know the Pickadees at all, and I know how slow my particular dog, the youngster, the Otto, the brown dog, was to mature. So putting the stop on at 2 years, I didn't do proper directional, lefts, rights, and backs till 3 years.
Yeah.
And we're now at 4 years, and I think I've got a competition dog, but unfortunately, no fucking competitions.
And yet, I've been taking Labradors to shoots at 12 months of age.
Of course you would, yeah.
And yet, flat coats take 3 years.
Yeah.
So look at the difference. They're still retrievers.
So if you go slow and steady with Doogie, that's the thing about them. You can't say what the dog is at 2 years. I mean, when we last met face to face, Otto was still running in on stuff. He would still bust the flush, rather than keep the point.
Yeah.
And then it took a year to get that right, and that shouldn't have taken a year. That should have been instinctive and natural, but it did take a year to get right. So now we're at 4 years, and now we've got a firm point and a staunch point. But 4 years old, so Doogie looks like a bit of a bag of spanners at the moment. But give him another year or two of consistency. I don't mean necessarily with you in training, but back home as well, and he could very well come good.
I've seen points of him that are very, very good.
He's certainly got turn speed when it suits him.
But I've watched him with his natural ability of how he'll lift his head and work things out in the wood, and it's absolutely fantastic to watch his natural ability. It's harnessing it. It's harnessing it, isn't it? Without overtraining and yet not taking away that natural ability.
And you've got to try and work out, are they on ground scent? Are they on air scent? Are they on
exactly? Exactly.
What are they actually? And are they indicating or are they pointing?
Yeah.
Well, you can usually see that, but there's a whole range of interests where they start to switch on and get interested. And when they get interested, they do come alive very quickly, and then God help you.
so for instance, I've been rebuilding up my rabbit pen, chopping down the trees outside, dragging them inside, putting cover in there, and I got enough cover in there to slow Doogie down.
Okay.
Dougie down, right? So I've had him in the rabbit pen 3 times in the last few days. What do you think he's doing in the rabbit pen? Do you think he's pointing, or do you think he's chasing or hunting and chasing? Come on, Jay, what do you reckon? We haven't shown you these videos.
You asking me or asking Jay?
I'm asking all of you.
What? Jay says chasing.
Jay says chasing. Chasing what? Shadows? He's got to find it first, doesn't he? He's got to find the rabbit first. First time I took him in the pen, what did he do?
I doubt he's going to be chasing enough.
You don't think
he's out of
I would rather he was chasing more at this stage.
Right.
My personal view is he needs, honest to God, I think he needs more drive.
Guess what I did with him?
What? Let him chase.
I just let him do his own thing.
Yeah.
And I watched him. And I carried on bringing in the cover and building up my cover drives, but letting the dog do what he wanted to do. Didn't ask the dog to do anything, didn't tell the dog to do anything.
Yeah, but what did he do when he didn't ask him to do anything? What, did he just bimble around, or did he chase?
Poor job is he chases deer. Yeah, but it's just a bit different in a pen. Do you know what he did? He put his friggin' head down and he went after stuff, scenting it with his nose, and he knew straight away as soon as he come in the pen, there's something in here. And he put his nose down.
There's no scenting it, ground scenting it.
Yeah, ground scenting it, and he went and found the rabbit, saw the rabbit, his freaking head went up and went, wow, Jesus Christ! And then tried to go after the rabbit, hit the cover, and he looked like Pluto on ice. So he wasn't pointing. He didn't air scent.
No, but he would point in the right condition. If he had an air scent coming across him, but in your pen, there's not.
I don't think so. I think he just took his nose as if he was looking for a truffle. Right?
But Chris, you can't underestimate that in them. They'll go from ground scent to air scent in a trice.
Without a problem. I understand, but what I'm saying is, in the woods, he used high head carriage
land with or on white grass or something like that, and there was something in there. I think there's quite a strong instinct in them. I think they mostly do lock up and point.
But that's the fun element. Once you've got them coming back, you've got to get them coming back first before you go and do that. If you do that, they just go off and become wild. What I'm saying is we set some ground rules that come back when told. You know what come back means. Now we begin to have the fun element because we built the strong foundation of what you want him to do. What I have been doing with him is I've been giving him treats for retrieving the tennis ball. So every time he gets the tennis ball and brings it back to me, he gets a treat. Do I want to go down that road? No. But I've had to tap into that because he would go out 50% of the time and go, I'll go pick it. Another time, just run past it, drop his head and start sniffing, start cocking his leg. So what I've said to him, every time you go out there, there's a treat, there's food at the end of this. Do I want to do that?
You listen to yourself, Mr. Christopher.
No. I keep saying to you, I say to everyone, anything that works, anything in the toolbox that works, you've got to use it sometimes.
I'm not taking the piss too much, but I'm taking the piss a little bit.
I tell you what, it pisses me off because at the end of the day, he should be doing it with fun-based, enjoying training.
But the thing is, that's from the Dogs Foundation. So
without fail.
The number 2 dog, who's a little bit better, we did retrieving before we get anyway. Got anywhere. He was a driven dog anyway. He didn't need game in the first 2 years.
Exactly.
And that sounds bonkers for most people, but he did not need game. Cold game, yes, but not game.
So you were quite right with what you said about Dougie in the pen. You would feel that dog needed to have some chasers to bring that drive.
That dog needs winding up.
Exactly.
To get excited about game.
But I cannot put that dog in an open pen with no cover because he'd catch the rabbit like your frigging dog does, like your dog did. Right? Yours stalked it and went, "You're not going nowhere, pal. Trust me." Remember the long line in the pen?
Yeah.
How many times did he catch that rabbit?
More than once.
He had me. I was obviously at one point nearly burying that rabbit, but he survived.
The rabbit was still fine.
Yeah, he's still there. He's there. Yeah, he's still going strong. And he's the rabbit that's now going to be fantastic for Dougie because the rabbit plays them. He sits there. He knows you come in. And Dougie's not like yours. He's not a panther. He's not a black panther. He don't freaking stalk him like your bitch does. And then he's not the same as your dog. He hasn't got that drive that we need because we got enough cover in there that when he does see the rabbit can get away from him.
Yeah.
And that way the chase then has to start all over again. He has to work it out. So what we're doing, we're saying to him, yeah, now you can chase, but you can chase in a confined area. And then we bring the stop back in on the rabbit. And then we're getting somewhere, aren't we? But first, we've got to allow the chase rather than you thinking if you ever let the dog chase, you'll never get it back. You learned that, didn't you?
Yeah,
Exactly. And yet, how many trainers go, if you let a dog chase, you'll never stop it?
Best dogs are on the edge of wild, aren't they?
Best dogs on the edge of wild. Yeah.
What do you think?
Without fail.
On the edge of breaking out. They're the ones that you think they're either going to win or they're going to fuck off for a day.
I still laugh to this day about your hip flash thing you explained.
Well, that was Craig Koshic's.
Yeah, Craig Koshic's. Yeah, you said about the hip flash.
I didn't know where I'd heard it. I heard it from some American, but it was a Canadian.
Yeah.
It's in Craig Koshic's book. That was very funny.
And I thought that was absolutely fantastic. Yeah. Anyway, we've had a hell of a talk tonight. We've done 1 hour, 30 minutes, and we did 30 minutes before that. So I want to thank you, Sol, for coming in and giving everybody a different. Julian Lees, one of your squirrels went out today with this lady, Catherine, and she was so grateful. She wants to say to you, thank you so much indeed, Julian, for the craftsmanship that you've done making that squirrel skin. So thanks a lot, Julian Lees. I've just seen your name come up there. And she said, do I owe you anything for it? I said, no, but you owe Julian one. So there you go, Julian. She's a lovely lady, and she was over the moon, and she's really pleased that she's gone away with a squirrel skin. Thanks a lot for that, and thanks everyone for tuning in. And could you give So our usual finish. There's 40 of you in the house. Thank you, Soul Kieran Evans says that's not good enough. So we want our normal comments.
Before you go, Chris.
Yeah.
I'm going to pin you down on your working test. This is my quid pro quo because you've just grilled me for 1 hour. So your working test, which is obviously going to happen sometime soon, I need to review the tasks that are on that website I posted to you, and you need to tell me if they are actually appropriate for what we're trying to test. A good standard any breed gun dog.
Right. So are you asking people on? Should we ask people on Patreon?
We can ask people on Patreon
whether they'd be interested in running a test.
You know the way I can post the website link. I can tell you it.
Yeah.
But I've put up 5 tasks which I think a reasonable dog should be able to do. A good standard gun dog should be able to do. They don't involve the hunting bit because that's too difficult to calibrate with different breeds. But I want you and other people who know the hunting scene.
So really, you're looking for Labradors?
No.
Well, you're not doing any hunting.
It's control, it's retrieving, but we're not. Yeah, you won't be testing the hunting bit because you can't. If you're going to test,
so are you talking about a glorified scurry,
Chris?
Come on.
We've talked about it before.
Yeah.
Talk about trying to get to a moderate to good standard with a gun dog, which is not a formal test, but it's. And you can't do the hunting because a GSP is going to hunt different to a terrier.
Without fail.
So, but if you were taking a dog on a shoot, could your dog do this?
Can you hear what he's saying, everyone? He now wants us to do a test. He wants it to be a mixed bag of dogs. It doesn't matter what breed it is. It doesn't matter whether you got paperwork or haven't got paperwork.
It's about performance, not about the pedigree.
It's about performance. So a terrier with very small legs is not going to get the same sort of appreciation as a lurcher that can run like a shit off a shovel.
I wouldn't recommend taking a lurcher.
Here we go. See, so now lurcher. Honestly, he's prejudiced now. See, prejudice now. Look, everyone. Black Lives Matter. Honestly, disgraceful.
If it's not moving, a lurcher's not likely to retrieve it.
How do you know? How do you know? Have you ever been lamping?
You've got a great trained lurcher that can do directional retrieves.
Have you ever been lamping? You've gone quiet.
I think we should just level the playing field and just go for performance matters, not the form.
So sounds good to me. I'd like to be there and just yeah, exactly.
Just laugh at the sideline.
Exactly. Yeah, look at him. Honestly, it's gonna be like.
But you have to be a little bit more committed than that.
It's gonna be like Jurassic Park, isn't it? Anyone can turn up. Or the Transora Rex. He freaking nailed the Hippolopolis. I think you've got some good points about this and running a test, and I think that is it relevant that they don't need paperwork. But to be honest with you could say, hang on, Chris, now you're picking and being choosing, but let's keep it to gun dogs at least. I don't want to be judging Cairn Terriers and frigging poodles and.
Be your dog, whether they've got a pedigree or they're a gun dog or not. If they're a crossbreed, a mongrel, a cockapoo, a Springador, whatever,
right?
They can be your dog.
So
don't be scared about it.
I'm not scared about it. So what I'm saying is, let's set an entrance fee that's reasonable priced, and let's set a good prize money for the winner. Because at the end of the day, let's cut out all these pet bloody. I'm going to bring me bulldog. I'm going to bring me freaking Staffy, right? Because to be honest with you, there'll be dogs chasing dogs and attacking dogs.
With your team, your Patreon team.
A trial run, yeah, with gun dog people. Let's have a trial run with gun dog people.
And then we'll see how it goes. You've got people in a Patreon team who've got crosses as well.
So see what Kieran's just said. He said £10 per dog.
That's the standard test price, isn't it?
Yeah. So make it fun. Yeah, we'll make it fun. Yeah, the first one we set up. Let's just stick to gun dogs, not freaking not sausage dogs and poodles.
Let's stick to your
Yeah.
Because they're people who have gun dogs,
Right.
or they've got gun dog crosses.
Okay.
And they're interested in working their dogs.
So hear that, everyone? We're gonna stick it for the first one we set up. We're gonna literally set it up for Patreon customers only. So there's a challenge for you guys. Anybody who wants a fun day out, they will get a qualification if they're good enough.
Well, it's a pseudo qualification because it doesn't mean anything to anyone apart from that you'll know your dog's achieved a standard.
Listen, everyone, you'll have to ask Dr. Sol what a pseudo qualification is.
You don't get a certificate from the kennel club.
Hey?
You might get a mug that says, "Never mind the bollocks, show me your dog."
Yeah.
That's probably the best prize you're going to get.
For 10 quid. Expensive mugs. But we'll get them made. Don't worry, everyone. And like I say, got a poodle. Shut up, you.
If you bring a poodle and it wins, I'll be delighted.
Yeah.
Actually, that would make my day.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. If you're going to bring a poodle, I'll bring a dog of my own. Show you how to do it. So what Sol is saying is it doesn't matter if you've got paperwork or not paperwork. We're going to try and set up a non-official test, fun day for everybody. And we're going to try and work out where's the best. Is it worth a lot more than Victoria Steelworth certificates? Yes, exactly. We're going to try and set it up somewhere where it's more central rather than coming all the way down to Cornwall.
Probably Midlands-ish.
Midlands-ish if possible. That's what Sol wants to do because he doesn't want to travel too far.
Chris says he might bring his
Well, I don't mind going to Cornwall, but
Chris might bring me Clumber with me. Oh no, Chris, put your Clumber away, please, 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 please. I've judged Clumbers before. It's like watching paint dry. I'm being totally honest. Midlands sounds good to me. Take 45 minutes. There you go, Jay. So we're looking for some ground where we can run this test, right? So we'll ask out there. Has anybody in the Midlands got anywhere where they got a 6-acre field or something like that that we can use? Midlands.
bit of woods on the edge.
Oh, he wants woods. He wants woods now. He wants wood, and he wants a pond as well.
I don't want a pond. I want a bit of woods on the edge.
And he wants
a water retreat.
He wants an estate with a bar as well, so he can have a freaking drink afterwards.
I'd like a loo.
And a loo. He likes a loo as well. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for somewhere in the Midlands that we could actually run a fun day test and everybody meet up. And we can. We're going to try and get this on for you guys sometime this year if possible, as long as we don't have a lockdown. We might. Yeah, Jaybrook, Bella Picasso. Yeah, I've been there. I've actually run competition there and done well actually. So that's a lovely spot. That is. Or we could use Donington Park, couldn't we?
Julian says, "My squirrel retrieves, can we come?"
Yeah, my squirrel retrieves. Yeah, no problem at all. And like I say, this is Sol's baby, but yeah, and he's been on it for ages.
What, a
a
year?
year? At least, maybe 2.
At least a year. So I'll give you the link for the dummy test.
So he's going to set the criteria for you, what you're supposed to achieve.
This is not based on points that you get the best dog or the worst dog. This is based on can you do it or can't you do it.
Yeah, can you finish it or not finish it?
Did your dog run in? Did your dog not run in?
Are you a mug or will you get a mug? Are you a mug or will you get a mug?
Chris has never really believed this, but I believe it. I really believe this is the lever to get people to move beyond silly tests. Because I think people want to know their gun dog's reached whatever their gun dog is, whatever their breed is, whatever their crossbreed is, it's reached a standard. They don't really want to know if it got 89 or 88 points. That's really subjective.
Yeah. It's either a pass or not a pass.
It's a pass or not pass.
To be or not to be. That is the question.
Exactly.
There you go.
And you'll be running, Chris, I imagine. You'll be at least submitting one of your dogs.
Yeah, no problem. I can do that. But don't you think that's slightly unfair if I'm judging it as well?
No, I don't think it's unfair at all. Because the criteria is so objective that it either happened or it didn't. Did your dog run in? No. Did your dog handle with 3 commands or less? No. You know, is that black or white? I think I would love to have it that each competitor that comes up to the peg judges the next competitor off.
Someone said they just got permission from Openshaw. He said, yeah, come and bring it up. Bring it on.
Don't bring Openshaw into it.
Don't bring Openshaw into it.
Give me some big names and make me scared. It's a great idea, and it probably might work. And if it doesn't work, it'll be a dozen dog mad people having a barbecue and getting pissed.
Yeah, no problem at all. There you go. So there you go, everyone. It's dead easy. It's dead easy to set up a test. It's just getting everyone there, getting everyone together, setting the ground, making sure there's a toilet, refreshments. I'll pay £50 if you can get him to do all 5 things. Who?
Yeah, Jay.
Sol.
No, Jay. Jay said, Chris, you can use Dougie.
Oh yeah, I'll work Dougie. That'll be good, won't it?
He'll pay you
That's one less to worry about.
Be a challenge for you.
Yeah, let's set this. I've got to get my finger out. I got to get my finger out. I love a challenge. Thank you, Jay. They're really nice here.
You pay your 50 quid and get all 5.
Yeah, all right then. Yeah, all right. I'm on my way.
That's the fun of it.
That's it.
That's the whole point.
If you can't turn up,
If you can't turn up with a clumber or a cockapoo
yeah,
and enjoy this,
Yeah.
you're not the person I want to be with.
it's a shame we haven't got our Cairn Terrier. I would have turned up with her just for a laugh.
Listen, I saw a retrieving not an Airedale, one of those little yappy white things.
Scotty dog.
No, the little yappy white ones.
Westies. Westie.
No, smaller.
Hey?
Chihuahua.
No.
It's a smaller white yappy, the archetypal white yappy terrier.
Hey, Chris Fraser was talking about someone.
Ellie, what did your mother have? Ellie.
Ellie?
What did your mother have as a terrier? The yappy white terrier.
Scotty Terrier.
Jack Russell.
That's not freaking all right.
I saw a Jack Russell retrieving duck. It
Yeah.
was fantastic.
Yeah.
And I had commented on the video, and I got into conversation with the bloke. I said, isn't it a hard man? He said, not at all. He said, mind you, he'll tear them up on fur.
Yeah. And it's funny because we were at Lanhydrock one day and we were in the backfield picking up and we were behind the guns and they were pushing this wood through and all of us, you start to hear the songbirds coming through and you can start to hear the dogs in the background and the whistles. And then all of a sudden to the top of this hedge, and we were 2 fields back, top of this hedge comes a deer, beautiful, beautiful looking deer, stands at the top of the edge, looks at the guns all in line, looks at us out the back, and he can hear what obviously is coming through the woods. So the deer thinks, right, I'll pop straight into the field and run right past the guns. It was majestic. He came racing across the field and all the guns just stood there and watched. And all of a sudden you saw this terrier coming through the woods. And you heard someone shouting, and the dog's name was Basil. Right? And you heard someone shouting, Basil! Basil! And guess what? Whose dog it was? It was the keeper's dog. And one of the guns turned to the other gun. It was so funny, as dry as hell. He said, I thought they'd stopped deer hunting on National Trust ground.
Oh, that's good.
It was so funny. Anyway, good night, everyone. You've had a long session tonight, and thank you, Sol, for coming in and speaking to us. And have a good time, and I will get some videos put up, but I've been so busy this week sorting my rabbit pen out and taking Dougie in the rabbit pen. He's just freaking left us, look. He's just freaking gone. Hey, just gone. How bloody rude. Good night, everyone. Chris Upton signing off. 35 people in the house, only 17 likes. Obviously, you've not enjoyed yourself tonight. I'll give you too long. Obviously, sometimes too much of a good thing is too much sometimes, isn't it? So good night all, have good fun, and we'll catch you on Sunday night for the Patreon customers. Good night, Sue, says Kieran Evans. Good night to all of you. Bollocks to the lot of you. Thanks for tuning in. Cheers.